Hello and welcome to week 4 of diabetes education. You missed your week 4 class, and so you're going to watch this recording to be able to complete week 4 before your next session in the next week. Today, we are going to discuss a few different things, but let me introduce myself. My name is Connie Horton. I am a diabetes educator and have done diabetes education for more than 25 years. And I also have diabetes myself. So today we are going to go through the information for week 4, and then you will follow up with your group class for week 5. And I encourage you to do your group class because you will get more out of that than you will probably from just listening to the recorded sessions. So last week you worked on goal setting. I hope your goal setting went well and that you are making progress towards your goals. We're going to review in week 7 your goals and evaluate to see if you need new goals or if you will keep the same goals. Remember, any progress toward your goal is progress, and that's what we want to see, is you working toward accomplishing your goals. Also, in week 2 we discussed exercising. And we talked about the Workout to Go handout. Just curious if anyone was able to do the Workout to Go activities, and I would encourage you to try to get some activities in your daily routine. Today we're going to talk about your emotional health, stress. We're going to review your blood glucose logs, high and low blood sugars, and what to do when you're sick. You're going to need your Type 2 Basics book, and normally you would need your daily log that you completed last week. When you were in your class, you would have reviewed this with your educator. Since you weren't in the class last week, your educator may stay after class to review your blood glucose logs since you won't get to today. What are some common challenges? There are many challenges to managing diabetes, such as feeling unable to live well with diabetes, lacking confidence to manage diabetes every day, lacking support from your family and friends, being able to afford diabetes supplies and medication, or being unable to regularly get food that is better for your health. If you're having difficulty getting supplies and medications because of financial reasons, you might want to talk to your physician about seeing a social worker or behavioral health specialist, and they may be able to help you in obtaining the supplies that you need. If you experience any of these challenges, you should find someone that you feel comfortable discussing your feelings with. As you continue to learn more how to manage your diabetes, your confidence, of course, in these areas will improve. On page 37 in your book, it talks about the way you've managed problems in the past and how you can apply those kind of activities now. Also on page 38 and 39, discuss different outlets such as creative outlets and physical outlets to help you handle stress. So coping with challenges, the pictures on this slide show someone cooking maybe, someone doing something fun like photography, something creative or painting. There's someone cutting out and sewing, listening to music, dancing, talking with a friend, maybe hiking, theater, or going for walks. All these things are ways you can cope with different challenges. You have probably had challenges in your life prior to having diabetes. What have you used in the past to cope with different challenges? Maybe some of these could be used to help you cope with your diabetes. On page 40 in your book talks about stress and diabetes. Stress of any kind can raise your blood glucose levels. Physical stress, such as illness, or even emotional stress, being upset about something, might affect your blood glucose levels. Stress makes it more difficult to stick to your care plan. Some people will use overeating or eat when they're not hungry. When they're stressed, they may avoid physical activity when they're stressed, or may watch more TV and sit and do nothing, which can also cause your blood sugars to go up. You should write down in your book on page 40 events that are causing you stress. In class, you would have shared with others how you're coping with the stress and giving examples of the stress that you're under. There are other things that can cause stress other than just diabetes, such as raising kids, maybe traffic, grieving an illness or a death, a new job, or a move. But stresses that can occur because of diabetes, sometimes family trying to tell you what to eat or not supporting you and having arguments about your diabetes. Friends can cause you to have stress as well. Maybe eating lunch at work is very stressful for you, especially when food is like catered in, or you're eating with a group and having a party. Or it may be stressful for you to get transportation to appointments. How can we feel less stressed, though? On page 41 in your book is a list of different activities that will help you feel less stressed. Some things, such as being physically active, maybe deep breathing or meditation. Sleep, getting enough sleep is very important. Laughing, just taking time for yourself and doing something you enjoy, and relaxing. There are many things we can do to feel less stressed. Sometimes even just being creative, like we mentioned before, with painting, cooking, something like that, connecting with your friends and visiting with them, journaling, even things such as faith-based activities, such as church groups, services, choir, any of those things can help us handle stress better. If you are having a difficult time with stress, seek care from your healthcare team. Let's move on to high blood sugar or high glucose. Remember, we interchangeably use glucose and sugar sometimes. Our goals for blood sugar are fasting and before a meal, 80 to 130. Remember, 70 to 79 is considered normal too and is in range. And you're not low until it's less than 70. If you're testing your blood sugar 1 or 2 hours after the start of a meal, your blood sugar should be less than 180. The reason blood sugar levels can be high is because you have less physical activity. You eat or drink more carbohydrates at a meal than you're supposed to. Sometimes even it has to do with our medication. We might forget to take our medicine. We might not take it at the right time. Or we may just need more medication to control our blood sugars. Also, as we mentioned before, emotional and physical stress can cause blood glucoses to go up. Sometimes there are no symptoms of high blood sugar. Typically, the blood sugar has to stay high a while before you actually experience symptoms. However, there are some common symptoms if the blood sugars have been elevated for a while. People tend to start being more tired. Their vision may become blurry. They may become more thirsty or even urinate more often. How can we lower the blood sugar? We can lower the blood sugar by walking, swimming, bicycling, all of these type of things. Physical activity is very important in lowering our blood glucose levels. Only time you wouldn't do physical activity to lower your blood sugar was if you were sick. Sometimes when we're sick and we do physical activity, it will not lower the blood sugar. So we want to lower the blood sugar using physical activity when we are not sick. Now let's talk about hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. Hypo means low, glyc means glucose, and emia means blood. So low sugar in our bloodstream. In your logbook, you should also note if you're having any low blood sugars and try to determine why. If your blood sugar is less than 70, you need to treat it and recheck it. So you test your blood sugar. If it's less than 70, you're going to eat 15 grams of carbohydrate. On page 49 in your book will be a list of these types of food, and we will also review that on the next slide. Then recheck your blood sugar in 15 minutes and repeat it if needed. Causes of low blood sugar is eating less than usual, skipping a meal or snack, or exercising more than normal. There are certain medications that can lower your blood sugar as well, such as sulfonylureas and insulin. If you want to know if you're taking any of these types of medicines, you can look at page 126 in your book at the medication list to see if your medication falls under the sulfonylurea list or the insulin list. Risk with other diabetes medicines is typically low. Most people will have some type of symptoms when their blood sugar gets low. These usually include sweating, shaking, headache, heart racing, weak, hungry, irritable, maybe crabby and confused, maybe tingling around the lips. We want to stick to the 15 grams of carbohydrates because eating in more than 15 grams is not going to make your blood sugar increase faster. But treating with more than 15 grams can lead to high blood sugars, and then you end up on a roller coaster, blood sugar being low and then going high. You might need to carry treatments for low blood sugar, especially if you are on a sulfonylurea or insulin. And when I talk about carrying them, I mean keeping them on your person, maybe in your car or in your purse or something like that. Once again, you should continue to treat low blood sugar every 15 minutes as long as it's remaining less than 70. If you have to treat it 3 times in one session, you should seek medical advice. If you're having low blood sugar during exercise, you might need to eat a snack prior to exercising. This slide shows the choices for treatment of low blood sugar. The things with stars are things that are easy to carry with you and may not be as tempting to eat compared to other things. Remember, eating more is not going to increase your blood sugar faster, but could result in increasing your blood sugar too much. So it's important to look at the serving size. On the top left of the slide, you're going to see fruit juice or regular soda pop. It is a half a cup of fruit juice or a half a cup of regular soda pop that will bring your blood sugar up. If you drink a whole can of soda pop or drink a whole glass of juice, your blood sugar is going to come up, but then it's going to go up too high. Also, a cup of low-fat or skim milk will help bring the blood sugar up. 3 to 4 glucose tablets. These are commercial products that you can buy at a pharmacy that will get your blood sugar up very quickly. 3 or 4 hard candies. These work pretty well, but it takes them a little longer to break down in our system to get the glucose into our bloodstream. 12 grapes is another option, or a pack of something like applesauce, the little fruit pouch type things. Each of these choices in the proportion shown is 15 grams of carbohydrate. Other options might be a tablespoon of jelly or a tablespoon of honey. Your book also includes items like granola bars and crackers. They might not work as quickly as the ones listed here, but are options if it's all you have. You might want to note that there is nothing with protein listed here, like nuts. You want sugar-containing items to increase your blood glucose level. Now I would like for you to pull out your daily log and turn to page 42 in your book. I would like for you to think about how you feel about checking your glucose level. Any of your feelings changed since week 1 when you discussed it in your group? Do you find value in checking your glucose level? On page 42 in your book, there's a place to discuss and write down how you're feeling about checking your blood sugar. I recommend filling in this section on the book. On page 43 in your book talks about how to look for patterns in blood glucose levels. I would like for you to circle and count all the results in your target range. Now put a square around the results that are not in your target range and count how many of those there are. Is the number of results in target bigger than the number not in target? Let's remember that for blood glucose range, it would be 70 to 130 fasting before a meal and less than 180 1 to 2 hours after eating. You might want to pause at this point in the presentation to do this. This next slide shows how many results are in target range in someone's record book. So the results in target were 14, results in not in target was 14. At least half of the results are in target range. Now I'd like for you to complete the activity on page 45 in your book. Later we will discuss in more detail how to problem solve and identify barriers. I'd like for you to find a result that is out of range. Look to see what food or activity occurred before you checked. Think about how that food or activity could have affected your glucose sugar value. What do you think caused your glucose or sugar to be out of the target range? And it may be out of target range high or out of target range low. For example, if you missed a meal or skipped a meal or delayed the meal, you might have had a low blood sugar recorded on your record. But let's say you overate and ate too many carbohydrates at a meal, you may have seen a high blood sugar after that meal, and you would know that's what caused it. Your educator after your group class next week can probably go over this with you a little bit more in detail. Let's talk about sick days and what happens when you're sick. Any illness puts added stress on your body and can cause high glucose. Even if you're not eating, your blood sugars may stay elevated when you're sick. It's important to check your glucose more frequently when you're sick than you do when you're not sick. You should check your blood sugar about every 3 to 4 hours. You might want to talk to your diabetes care team about your diabetes medication. Typically, you're going to continue your medication because blood sugars are still going to be up a little bit, so you need your medication to bring those blood sugars down. You can try to eat or drink small amounts of carbohydrates. If you'll look on page 50 and 51 in your book for examples, in order to create a meal. So you may have something like, you might have a half a cup of regular soda pop for 15 grams of carbohydrate, and that would be like maybe a half a Sprite to settle your stomach. You might eat that with 5 or 6 saltine crackers or a piece of toast. You might have a cup of soup with noodles or rice, maybe some Jell-O. These are typical sick day foods that you may have had when you were growing up and your mom would give you if you were sick. Things like half a cup of gelatin, a popsicle, or a half a cup of ice cream or frozen yogurt. Even a tablespoon of honey or sugar can help maintain your blood sugar and get a few carbohydrates in when you're sick. Also, you should drink plenty of sugar-free liquids. We want to stay hydrated when you're sick. So drinking water or caffeine-free and sugar-free liquids will help maintain your hydration. Have a family member check on you when you're sick. You may sleep longer than 3 or 4 hours if you're sick, so they need to check on you, wake you up so you can check your blood sugar. Also on page 51 is a list of when to call for help. You definitely want to call for help if most of your glucose readings are over 300 for 2 or more days, you're having low blood sugars more than one time during your illness, or your vomiting and nausea is making you unable to treat low blood sugars, and if you have vomiting or diarrhea for more than 6 hours, you would want to call your primary care physician. You kept a daily log this past week. We're going to use the daily log for another week later on. If you would like to make a copy of it to continue using it, you're more than welcome to do so. You can recreate it on paper if you like, or you can go back to using your record book this next week. We want you to keep track of your food and physical activity levels to help figure out why your glucose is either high or low. Your educator will help you after the next session to help you determine what's going on with your blood glucose and look for patterns in your blood glucose levels. Once again, you can recreate the daily log or use a record book to keep your blood glucoses starting today for the next week. Next week, we would like for you to bring, of course, every week, your Diabetes Basics book, Eating for Better Health pamphlet, a nibble of food, such as a raisin, and actually it can be anything that you would like to bring. There'll be no judgment. If you want to bring an M&M or something like that, that's fine. And we don't want you to have to share the item you brought with anyone else. You don't have to tell us what you have. But we're going to use it next week kind of as an experiment with our lesson. You also have a wallet card in your packet. And if you can bring that wallet card for medications to write them on, we'll do that. Also, there's an example of a medication label. If you can bring that next week, that would be helpful too. Have a great day.